Hello and welcome to another episode of the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Connor Moreno, lead writer for UCLA Bruins on SI. And today we're getting right back into our series where we rank UCLA's most important games of the season. Last episode we had number 7, which was Michigan State. That is, I think, a Week 6 matchup. Yeah, it's right after Penn State, so it is a Week 6 matchup against Penn State. Week 7. One of the two. I know that UCLA has a bye within those first 5 games. So yeah, I mean that Michigan State game is right after Penn State. The reason I had it ranked at number 7 was because obviously UCLA might be losing to Penn State the week prior, so I thought it was a good litmus test of how are the Bruins going to respond coming off of a loss this season against an opponent that they're most likely going to be favorited over. And so now we're moving on to number 6, which is the exact midway point. And we'll get to that right after I have just a little bit of news. You might have already seen it. I wrote about it on UCLA Bruins on SI. The UCLA is going to have an open practice on Saturday, August 23rd. It is for all fans, free to attend. It starts at 11, and then they'll have an hour and 15 minutes to watch open practice and just watch all that good stuff. They are going to be able to the Bruins are offering an exclusive Meet the Bruins event, which is $100 per person, and fans can get behind the scenes experience. They can meet the team, meet some players. They're going to get a tour of the locker room. They're going to get VIP viewing of the practice, just for $100 per person. No biggie. So that's the first bit of news that I wanted to get to. Sean Foster said that this open practice at the Rose Bowl is going to be more like a kind of a walkthrough for players who more like specifically haven't played at the Rose Bowl, so that way they're not going into it like, wow, this is the Rose Bowl, something that can get players accustomed to, and that they're like, hey, I've been here before. So yeah, that's pretty much what that open practice is going to be. They might simulate a little bit of game, but we'll go ahead and see about that. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into our number 6 ranking on UCLA's most important games, which is Week 13 against Washington. We're officially at the halfway point of the rankings, as I said, and I feel like this matchup against the Huskies is pretty perfect. Washington right now projects to be a better team than UCLA going into the season, but if the season plays out how the Bruins hope, then Week 13 could be the difference between 7 or 8 wins in a season for UCLA. Not to mention that this matchup against Washington kind of comes this matchup against Washington comes at the midway point of what is, I think, their toughest stretch of the season, where after Maryland you have Indiana, Nebraska, Ohio State, then Washington, then USC. I feel like if you're going to lose to Ohio State, if you're potentially going to lose to Indiana, who is ranked 20th going into the season, and then if you might lose to USC, I don't know, USC is going to be further on in the rankings, and we'll get to them in the next few days. But if you do lose to USC, I feel like this Washington game is crucial the week before, just so that way, you can, if the season does play out how I think it is, Washington will likely be your 7th or 8th win of the season. Now, I personally am a little bit more optimistic on UCLA than I feel like a lot of national pundits are. One thing I've noticed, and one thing that another UCLA beat writer, Benjamin Royer, pointed out on Twitter today, is that a lot of these national pundits and national media outlets are kind of using last season's Bruins as a way to predict how this season's going to go, without factoring in just how much UCLA's roster improved. Not only just Nico Iamaleava, who a lot of people are saying can give the Bruins 2 to 3 more wins by himself, which, by the way, that 2 to 3 more wins is already 7 or 8 wins coming off of last season. But you brought in key players at skill positions, like Javion Thomas at running back, Mikey Matthews at a wide receiver, and then on the defensive end, you completely revamped your squad, have a whole bunch of new transfers with a bunch of returners that are coming off of injuries and are staking their claim on the defensive line. I just feel like a lot of people aren't kind of taking that into account. I see a lot of projections saying that UCLA is only going to win 5 or 6 games this season. 6 games, I guess I can see if something goes wrong with a few toss-up games here in the season, but I just don't buy it. I think UCLA is going to be a much better team than they were last season, and if what I think is correct, I feel like this Washington game could be a toss-up, and I feel like if UCLA is a serious team, then this Washington game is going to be the difference between 7 or 8 wins on the season. And if something does go wrong, especially early in the season, then this game against Washington could have major bowl implications. It could be, the difference between a 5 and 6 win season, only if something goes wrong. But I think I'm, more bullish on UCLA being a lot better than 5 or 6 wins this season. So that's why I have that ranked here. There are a few more games that are more important on the schedule that we'll get to in the next couple of days. But as we have done with every single team in this series, we're going to go ahead and read an excerpt from how national analysts are projecting Washington, and we're going to go with our old friend Bill Connolly of ESPN. He went ahead and previewed Washington along with all the other Big Ten schools, and here's what he had to say. You need more than 153 dropbacks to create an accurate predictive sample of what you're going to be capable of moving forward. For most freshmen, that's good, as their first 153 dropbacks probably aren't successful. But for Devin Williams, it took only that many for him to build serious excitement. Williams started the last 2 games of a relative lost season for the Huskies and went 0-2 because the defense gave up 84 combined points, but he completed 43 of 52 passes for 555 yards, 5 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. And not including sacks, he rushed for 137 yards and another score. He took an eye-dropping 15 sacks in those 2 games, which was clearly still leaning. He was clearly still learning what he could and couldn't get away with at the college level, but still produced an 84.3 total QBR, which would have been nearly Curtis Rourke-like for an entire season. If Williams is genuinely good and doesn't take a million sacks, then there's a legitimate chance for a second-year leap for the UW offense. He'll have a relative experienced line in front of him and a skill core that includes a 1,000-yard back Jonah Coleman and a physical backup in sophomore Adam Muhammad, receivers Denzel Boston and Penn State transfer Amari Evans, and other sophomore in big play tight end Decker DeGraff. The overall depth of experience on offense will be minimal, but there are mountains of upside. With Williams, the offense has a pretty wide range of outcomes, but the range for the defense might be even larger because of newness. Only 5 of 15 players with 200-plus snaps return, and Ryan Walters replaced Stephen Belichick, who left to coach for his dad at North Carolina at coordinator. Walters was a successful defensive coordinator at Missouri and Illinois before bombing as Purdue's head coach. Fish aimed for known disruptors in the portal and found quite a few, such as tackles Tai Ugalele from Arizona, Simode Pepa from Utah, and linebackers Jacob Manu from Arizona, Tariq Al-Ukda from Washington State, and Zari Alexander from UCF, along with, corner Takario Davis from Arizona, and safeties CJ Christian from FIU and Alex McLaughlin from Northern Arizona. There aren't many proven returnees, but edge rusher Isaiah Ward and corner Ephesians Cyrock are solid. Fish generated lots of traction in his second season at Arizona, and it's not hard to envision something similar happening at UW. But he'll need to hit on a lot of transfers, and he'll need his faith in a guy with 153 dropbacks wholly rewarded. So, UW did undergo a lot of change, but they do kind of have a familiar face at quarterback with Williams, which means experience. I will agree that Yamaleava is a better quarterback, so that'll be a fun battle in Week 13 of the season, especially with how the season plays out between those two quarterbacks. And again, I do think that this is an important game because if the season plays out just how UCLA wants it to be, then it's going to be a toss-up game for the Bruins, and a win could be the difference in 7 or 8 wins on the season. So yeah, that is number 6. Tomorrow we're going to hit you with number 5. And again, as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast. We'll see you tomorrow.